All right, so welcome to today's class. And without wasting much time, we'll be going into what we have for today, which is understanding product design and its uses. Okay, understanding product design and its uses. Now, we are going into what is product design. I'm your facilitator. My name is Favor Melie Izuchukwu. I'm a product designer with years of experience. I'm also an entrepreneur and a cloud engineer. All right. Okay, so let's get into what we have for today. What is product design? Without wasting much time, product design is simply the structured process of solving user problems using technology. Now, technology, which means tools you'll be using to build digital products, tools you'll be using to build digital products, digital platforms. You understand? Now, in digital products, we focus on creating apps, websites, and platforms that are usable, desirable, and useful. All right. So we are not just creating things that would not be used. We're actually creating, apps, websites, and platforms that are going to be usable, desirable, useful to our customers, to our target market, and to our audience. All right. Now, going ahead, what is product design in general? Now, a product designer does not just make anything look good. All right. We are not just here to create visuals, beautiful infographics, or beautiful landing pages, or beautiful websites. We are actually here to, understand user problems, understand the business, and use technology to visualize their solution. All right, so we are actually providing solution, providing solution through building a platform for businesses, individuals, and the general public. Okay, so that's what a product designer is. For now, product design, for example, we take for a mobile banking app. Now it's not just all about buttons, colors. It's about how the app is functioning. It's about how the user relates to the app. Is the app trustworthy? Is the app easy to navigate? Is it easily clarified? Is it fast enough? All right. Is it fast enough? Okay, so that's what you need to know. Then also, what is digital product to differs from graphic design. Now, graphic design is known for building visuals. All right, is known for building just graphics visuals. But product design now we take it a step further. We take it a step further because we deal with interaction, behavior, and flow. We're not just dealing with visuals. We deal with your customer interaction, your user interaction, which is your target interaction, their behavior, and their flow. All right, not just the visuals. Now, going ahead, who is a product designer? Who is a product designer? Now, a product designer is responsible for the following. You understand your user problems by carrying out your market research, understanding what they want, understanding their pain points before coming up with a solution. Now, designing solution, from what you've already understood, you know how you have to go further to ideate. Understand your idea to brainstorm before you now start designing the solution. Designing the solution is now using the tools you're using to building the platform. All right, designing the solution is now in actually building the platform. After designing the solution, you're also communicating the ideas visually. You're communicating to the stakeholders, to the owners of the platform if you're building with someone, or to the users if you're building for an audience. All right, you're communicating the ideas, you are communicating the solution to the right people. Now, working with developers and stakeholders, this is very important. You would be working with developers that would actually make this site functional, make this site workable. You understand? So you'll be working with developers and stakeholders. All right. Now, also, product design is into two phases: UX design and UI design. Now, a UX designer simply focuses on research, the user flow, and usability. Research, I talked about that earlier. Your market research, understanding the public, understanding those people, not the general public now, those people that will be using your platform, those people that will be using your solution. Then the user flow, their journey on your platform from when they get into your platform. Okay, you get into a page or a page or an app, you're required to sign in. From that point in time, you start signing in till when you've done with the activity you plan to carry out. You understand? So that's the user flow. So the UX designer is responsible for all that. Is the user satisfied during the user flow? On the journey of the user flow is the responsibility of the UX designer, and also the usability. How useful is the product? How useful is it? Now, the UI designer focuses on visual appearance. This is the person that focuses on the interface and everything. How beautiful it is. The buttons, are they well placed? Are they well added? Are they in their right position? All right. Now, both the UI UX designer and the UX designer comprises to form a product designer. Now, the product designer, which you are or intending to be, combines of both UX and UI. You understand? Plus the product thinking. You need to think about the product. You need to visualize. In most startups and tech teams, one person they can take up all these roles. So that shouldn't be new to you. One person should take up all those roles. UI, UX. Of course, you can see the interface. This is UI dealing with the interface. They are focusedly based on building the interface. The UI, the UX, they're now understanding the user, understanding how user interact. You understand? Then also, like I made mention, UX has to do with both the user research, the personas, the usability testing. User research is knowing the people you're building for, the personas, knowing who they are, knowing their um, behaviors, their characters, their patterns, and usability testing is testing how they interact with the platform. On the other hand, UI, which is user interface, is in interaction design. You understand? You design how they interact with the app, layout, how the features are being structured, and the visual design, how beautiful it is and how understandable it is. Of course, also a UX designer is an interaction designer. He is responsible for charting the user pathway, which is the user journey, which is all the processes the user has to carry out on that platform. He also plans their information architecture, how information is leveled out. Then you experts is an expert in wireframes, prototypes, and research. So he research about wireframes and prototypes. You understand? While the visual designer why the UI UX designer is a visual designer, designs the visuals, those the visuals, which means the aspect that your eyes can see. Also chooses the color, the typography, and also plans the visual aesthetics. It's expert in mockups, graphics, and layout. All right, so these two attributes comprises of both the product designer. Of course, the UI designer, the work that the UI designer does is what they see, which is all the visuals, all the web pages, all the websites that you're seeing. Why the UX does the underground work, understanding how the system works, understanding who the user is, understanding who they are and what they do. All right. So this is the comparison. Now, user experience. What is user experience? Let's go into user experience is how the user feels while using a product. Okay, this is how a user feels while using a product. It covers ease of use, clarity, speed, accessibility, and emotional response. Now, most of us we can testify that while using OPay or all these microfinance banking app like MoneyPoint, Kuda, PalmPay, OPay, we see that we have this feeling of fulfillment. We have this feeling that okay, this app is fast. You understand? So we don't really actually need to delay. You understand? There's no need to. There's no delay. There's no issue. There's no problem. Talking about this, that's more of an emotional response, right? Because it strikes this feeling of happiness, which is also strikes this feeling of emotion in you. You're happy when you use all this any app that is very easy to use. For example, OP is very swift and very fast. Okay, so this is one of the things we're talking about: the clarity, the speed. So all this is uh, uh, um experience, your experience, you the user. How do you feel about this? And also on the same hand, we all have gotten to some platforms or some app where we find it very very difficult to navigate. Very very difficult to navigate. What comes out at the end? Frustration, anger. We are not just okay while using an app that is very difficult to understand. It's frustrating. All right. So all this is your experience, which comes about this user experience. All right. Now, user experience, like I said earlier, how is it easy to register? These are just the basic information that sums up to your user experience. How it easy to register? How fast can you find information? How confusing or smooth or easy to understand the process feels. You understand? Now, a good UX removes frustration, while a bad UX creates stress. Now, a good UX designer removes frustration from apps and all that, while a bad UX designer brings more frustration. You understand? So better be a good UX designer. Now, what is UI, user interface? User interface refers to the visuals and interactive element of a digital product that users see and interact with. Now, these are the buttons, the colors, the typography, the, the icons, the spacing, the layout. UI also focuses on the consistency, the clarity, and the visual appeal. Okay, the visual appeal. Now, focusing on this, we help user understand the action to navigate the product easily. We help user understand, each what each action stands for, what the next line of action would be, all right, to be able to navigate the product easily. A good UI makes use of product intuitive and attractive and very, very easy to use. That's what user interface means. So you are making the visuals appealing, you're making it easy, and you're also helping the user understand what they are doing. All right, so that's UI, user interface. All right, so now UI is a visual layer of the product, and this includes, like I mentioned earlier, buttons, colors, typography, icons, and layout. All right, now the UI communicates meaning. The UI communicates meaning, and of course, we should know that red buttons, ones, a red button is a warning button, a green button is like reassures. For example, let's say you signed up on the platform and you want to say successful. Do they use a red color to indicate successful? No, or approved. No, they use a green color, which most times signifies or represents assurance, confirmation. You won't see a red. Where you see red issues where you are having an alert or a warning or a danger. You get to see. So different colors are used for different things. Now let's take for example. Now these buttons, these are different buttons. Of course, this is a type of button. This is a type of button. This is a type of button. These are different types of button. The switch, the chip, the action chip, alright, the check boxes, the the select, the emojis, other features, contact features, arrow features, call features, end call. All these are types of button, and all these buttons are not limited to this. All right. Now colors. Of course, I was explaining something about colors. Of course, you can see colors. For example, now red color. Excitement, strength, love, energy, in some cases danger, orange, confidence, success, bravery, scalability. Now, depending on the aspect that your brand you're building for focus in, or the product that you're building for focus on, you will now decide to know, okay, which color can I use. For example, let's say you're building an agricultural app or an agro-based tech app. Of course, you use green because it has to do with nature. It has to do with nature. All right. Let's say you're building a luxury app where people will be able to order luxury properties, or of course, you make use of purple, signifies luxury and ambience, and quality. You understand? So this is just color. You can also research more about these colors, but just know that you don't just use colors anyhow. You use colors based on the brand, based on the app, and based on what they are doing. Now, colors, of course, you can see you don't just use colors anywhere. You don't just use a red color, a blue color, add next to it, and a green color. You would make sure that the colors are in uniform. Of course, if you look at this color, this is blue. All the colors here are blue and close to green. But if you look at them closely, you see that they are faded. All right, you will not just see blue and see red and see pink. That's color blocking, and that's going to make your design chaotic. Even if it must not be side by side together. All right, it must be used in a way that, okay, you can actually indicate, okay, this is for this area, this is for this area. Your design will still look good. It must not be different color. Can make it faded like this one. So this is an example of how to use colors in layouts or in UI design. All right, then also typography. I talked about typography. This is the heading. Of course, there are different headers you use, different titles, bodies, and all that. All right. So this is, typo. We'll still talk more about that. I'll show you how to use them on Figma. All right. Now the next one. Now user interface. Icons. Icons. This is the next thing. Icons. They are different icons. When we get to our course on Figma, I'll tell you how these icons work. You have a lot of hundreds of thousands of free icons you can make use of. You understand? So that's one thing to take note of. So user interface is an icon too. So these are icons for your user interface. Layout. Layout is simply how the features on your platform are structured. This is a layout for a PC, this is a layout for a tab. You also have layout for a mobile app. If you are going, this one is a layout for a mobile app and the rest of them. So you have to take note of that. Generally now, when we talk about product design, we're talking about creating solutions that meet user in a functional and attractive way. All right. It also helps businesses develop products that are easy to use, that solve real problems and fit into users' daily life. If your product doesn't solve problems, you've already failed in that product. You failed as a designer. Now, we also guide how a product looks like, how it feels, how it works. We ensure consistency from the idea to the final product. It is used to improve existing products. Okay, we can also improve existing products, create new innovations, and align products with market demands. All right. So that's one thing you need to take note of. Now, also a product design reduces product failure, we save development costs, we improve user adoption, we make products scalable. Reduce product failure is if your product is easy to use, it's very difficult to fail. If it's understood by the user, it's also difficult to fail. All right. So that is what we're talking about. Also save development costs. Now, a product can also be designed by a developer, and it being designed by a developer would cost more because they would use code to design more. They'll use code to do the design, which would take more time, take more cost, and take a whole lot of things. You understand? But using this tool now, you can take away that stress from the developer. You understand? All right. So let's move ahead. Improve user adoption. If it's easy to use, people would easily adopt to it, and also make the product scalable. Once you have a lot of people adopting to your product, it scales fast. You understand? So when I mean scaling, a lot of people start using it, it gains visibility, and it's just going to be used by a whole lot of people. All right, now many failed apps fail not because of code, but because of the user did not understand or enjoy the system. Now, a app can be scalable, but it also fail. Now, why does it fail? It fails because the user don't understand them. So please do take note of that. Now, use of product design is used in designing mobile apps, websites, dashboards, SaaS platform. Now, what this SaaS means is software as a service. Software as a service. Let's say you're building a brand that offers software as a service. You will be needing a very good product designer, or you would need to be a very good product designer. Now, fintech apps, edtech apps, healthcare apps, any digital solutions generally that serves human needs a product design. So if your digital products serve humans, it must need a product designer, very good product designer. Product design process. Now there's a process to product design. First of all, you identify the problem, do your user research, ideate solution, you wireframe, you prototype and test and iterate. But if focus for this course and this period, we would be using wireframing and prototyping. These are the areas we'll be focusing on, but we'll still discuss the remaining ones. All right. Now, in identify the problem, this stage you need to focus on understanding the real user problem users are facing. The designers define the need to be solved. What need are you solving? Why does it matter? Right? And the product address, is it does it addresses a genuine need? All right. So these are all the things you need to identify. The problem is very, 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 very important. All right. Secondly, user research. So user research, you help designer understand the user behavior, the needs, the pain points, the goals. This is done through interviews, surveys, observations, and data analysis. You understand? To ensure the product is user centered. You understand? So you understand your user, you understand their behavior, you understand their need, understand their pain points, understand their goal. This will not help you to accurately build this your app. If you don't do this well, you see that you might not actually address the user pain points. All right. Now, the next one, you ideate the solution. At this stage now, a designer is now brainstorming to generate multiple solution ideas. So you're now thinking wide, thinking past to generate, get multiple solutions. Now the goal here is to think creatively, explore different approaches, and select the best idea to solve the identified problem. That's the goal, right? So now the fourth one is wireframing. Wireframing is as simply is a simple visual layer that shows the structure of the product. It's just showing the structure. It must not be all perfect. It's just a layer that shows the structure of the product. All right. Now they focus on the content placement, the navigation, the functionality, and with detailed design. Now that this wireframe. Now what you can see here is a low fidelity wireframe. Of course, this is just more of like a sketch. All right. Either the sketch is on your PC, on tool, on Figma, or on a rough work. All right. So this is just like a sketch of what it looks like. This is the wireframe, low fidelity wireframe. Now let's go further. Now, wireframing is the process of creating a basic visual blueprint of a product before adding detailed design elements. Now, this shows where things go, how users move through the product without focusing on the colors, images, or styling. Now, you're not focusing on anything. You're just focusing on the user journey, what users need to do, what users, how users would go from one point to another. Now, wireframing also help designers plan the layout, the plan, the structure, and the functionality of the product. Now, um, um, uh, they show key elements like buttons, menus, text areas, forms, navigation paths, making it easier to understand how the product will work. So it's easy to understand this. All right. Now there are two main types of wireframe. We have low fidelity wireframes. Now these are simple sketch or grayscale layout used in early stages to explore ideas quickly. When I mean by simple sketch or grayscale layout, this is what I'm talking about. These all these are simple sketch. Of course, there's no color here. There are no colors here, so it's a grayscale layout. That if you're using a tool to design it. Now we have high fidelity wireframes. All right, these are more detailed layouts that closely represent the final structure. So these now you now have all the both the colors, the company color, the image, and everything. You now have all of them in that particular wireframe. Yes, this is low fidelity. This is what it looks like. There's no color. It's just showing the future. So just showing what it looks like. There's no color. All right, this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like, more like a rough sketch. Now, simple sketches or grayscale layout used in early stages to explore the ideas quickly. Now, you use this to understand the ideas quickly. You understand? Now, this high fidelity. High fidelity is more of a detailed layout that closely represents the final structure. Now, this is the final structure. Of course, the company color is here. This is company color. The needed images are here. All the images, the photos, everything is here. The company the color codes, the company information, everything is here. All right. Now let's go over to the next one, prototype. Prototype is an interactive model of the product that's used to demonstrate how it will work. Wireframe is how it's structured. Prototype is how it's going to work. They help designers and stakeholders visualize the product and test user interaction before full development. Now, they help designers and stakeholders visualize the product. Now, visualizing the product is, for example, if I'm to click here, after clicking here, what next? It takes me to this page. On this page, if I click here, where does it take me to next? Here, and so on and so forth. So yeah, here you are demonstrating how the product is working. All right, prototype. Now, still on prototype, we have two types. Or before then, let's still look for the prototype. Now, prototype is an interactive model of a product that shows how it will look and work before it is fully built. Unlike wireframes, prototype allows user to click, navigate, and interact with the design, making the experience feel close to a real product. Now, prototype is close to a real product, but it's not close. It's just linking you to the pages, those pages that you need to get to the important pages. Once you click there, it helps you to navigate to those pages. Just the navigation, you might not actually get into that particular aspect of it being functional. It's just the navigation. Now, prototype also are used to test ideas, user flows, and functionality. They help the designers to see how the users will move from one screen to another, like I just mentioned earlier, and how different features behave. Prototypes can be created using tools like Figma. Figma is the tool that we'll be using in creating this prototype, Adobe or InVision, but we'll be using Figma for the purpose of this course. Of course, we have two types, low fidelity prototypes and high fidelity prototype. Now, this is an example of low fidelity prototype. Now, this image is not that clear, but of course, you can see what's here. Low fidelity prototype is simple, basic, and focused on functionality rather than visuals. Right. So now this is the functionality. This is how it works. You see all these um, like connectors linking different pages to different things. Showing it how it will work. Now, high fidelity prototype. High fidelity prototype Okay, hold on. Let me load this image. I think I'll just load this image right now. Just give me a minute. Let me load this image. Okay, so I think the image will load anytime from now. I think the image will load anytime from now. All right, so let's see. Okay, let's see if we'll get there. All right. Okay, so I think it's still loading. It should still be loading. Let's see how fast it can load. All right, let's see how fast it can load. Let's see how fast it will load. Let's see how fast it will load. I need to show you the I need to show you what the prototype looks like. You need to see what high fidelity prototype looks like. When I talk about high fidelity prototype, we're talking about everything is now near completion, is near use. All right, is that is near use. You understand? That's what high fidelity prototype is for. All right. So why is loading? Let me check whether this other one is already up. Okay, it's not yet up. This one is still loading. This is still loading. All right. So I think it's getting there already. So just a minute, a minute, a minute. Okay. So I'll just present the screen. Hold on a second. Let me just present the screen. All right. So without wasting much time, okay, let's see the next page before we go into. Okay, it's still on prototyping. I want us to see this high fidelity image. I want us to see this high fidelity image because it's very important to see it. It's very important to see it. Let me see if I'll be able to load it from here. Okay, it will still be loading. Okay, let me just explain the difference. I'll just explain the difference why this is still loading. So maybe by the time it has finished loading, we would come back. We would come back. Okay. So now when I say high fidelity prototype, this is what I mean. It's still the same thing with it's still the same thing with this. It's still the same almost the same thing with this. Right? It's just that all the visuals now will not be there. All the visuals, the exact visuals. All these ones are not the exact visuals for the platform. So now the prototype will now have the exact visuals. To have the exact visuals, the exact colors, the exact images that the company requires. So that's for high fidelity prototype. You understand? Now, let me check if it's done. Okay, it's not done yet. I think this should be the image. But let's check whether it will be done in any moment from now. Okay. Okay, so now, but let me just I would have loved to give you an example. I'd have loved to give you an example. You really need to see what high fidelity prototype is. It's almost like this. It's almost like this. It's almost like this. It's almost like this one. Take a look at this one. Take a look at it. It's almost electronic, just that it will not have all those connectors, all those wires and everything to that. So it's almost the same thing with the high fidelity wireframe, just that high fidelity wireframe doesn't show the journey. High fidelity prototype shows the journey. You understand? All right, so that's it basically. So that's high fidelity prototyping. Now, what's next under prototyping? This guy is not yet there. Okay, so what is the under still under um prototyping? We have the importance, right? We have the importance. Now, prototyping is important because it helps identify usability and issues early enough, right? It also allows feedback from users and stakeholders before development, and also it reduces costly mistakes during development. It improves overall user experience, right? So that is that about the importance of prototyping. It's very important. Now, the final stage, one of the final stages, test and iterate. This stage simply involves testing the product with build users to gather the feedback, and also designers refine and improve the products repeatedly until it meets the user needs and performs effectively. So that's this one of this stage involves testing the product with free users. All right. So that is that for today's class. What have you learned so far? You can go over the video again to see what you have learned so far. And for the time being, see you in the next class. Thank you.